Imagine this. You're sitting at dinner with someone who's known you for years. You bring up a childhood memory, the blue bike, the fall you took, how you cried. You laugh, expecting them to nod along. But they don't. They tilt their head and say, "That never happened." Or worse, "That happened to me, not you." And suddenly, something inside you shifts. If your memory is wrong, what else might be? We like to think of memory as a photograph. Clean, frozen in time, undeniable. But what if memory is more like a painting, touched by emotion, shaped by time, and colored by imagination? What if the stories you tell about your past aren't just incomplete, but sometimes completely false? In this episode, we're going to explore a strange and fascinating truth. Your memories can lie to you. Not because you're broken, but because your brain is trying to protect you, fill in the blanks, or make sense of chaos. We'll dive into the science of false memory, the psychology of trust, and the deeper question underneath it all. If you can't fully trust your own mind, how do you know who you really are? Let's find out. Memory is not a recorder. We like to think of memory as something reliable. You experience something, your brain records it, and later you play it back, like a file saved on a hard drive, untouched, unchanged, unbiased. But that's not how memory works. In truth, memory is not a camera. It's a reconstruction, not a replay. Every time you recall an event, your brain doesn't pull out a perfect video file. It rebuilds the experience using fragments of sensation, emotion, assumptions, and imagination. You don't remember the event, you remember your last memory of it. And over time, each retrieval reshapes the story, like opening a document, making edits, and hitting save again. This is why 5 people can witness the same moment and walk away with 5 different stories. Not because they're lying, but because their brains processed, stored, and reassembled the experience through different filters. Context matters. Emotion matters. Even the words someone uses to ask you about an event can alter how you remember it. And here's the strangest part. Your brain doesn't tell you when a memory has been altered. There's no warning, no red flag. You just feel certain, even when you're wrong. Because the brain is less concerned with objective truth and more concerned with creating a story that feels coherent. And if the story helps you feel safe or make sense of chaos, your mind will choose coherence over accuracy every time. So no, memory isn't a flawless recorder of your life. It's more like a novelist, piecing together meaning from scattered scenes, filling in the gaps with imagination, and believing wholeheartedly that the story it created is real. The science of false memory. One of the most unsettling discoveries in psychology is this. You can remember things that never happened, and your brain will swear they did. In the 1990s, psychologist Elizabeth Loftus conducted a groundbreaking experiment. Participants were shown a list of childhood events, some of which were real, and one that was entirely fabricated. You got lost in a shopping mall when you were 5. At first, most denied it, but after being asked about it repeatedly, many participants began to remember the false event, describing what the store looked like, who found them, even how they felt. Their minds had filled in the blanks. The invented memory felt just as real, just as vivid as the ones that actually happened. This phenomenon is called false memory, a mental experience where the brain constructs events that either didn't happen at all or happened in a completely different way. And it doesn't take hypnosis, trauma, or manipulation to see. All it takes is suggestion, a trusted source, a strong emotion, or the simple repetition of an idea. Why is this possible? Because your brain doesn't store memories like files. It stores bits and pieces, the smell of popcorn, a flash of color, a voice, a feeling. Then, when needed, it tries to piece them together like a puzzle. But sometimes, the puzzle pieces don't quite fit. So your brain fills in the gaps with logic, emotion, or assumptions. And the scariest part? You won't know. You'll feel confident. Your voice won't shake when you retell the memory. Because false memories don't feel false. They feel real. This isn't just theory. False memories have been documented in courtroom testimonies, therapy sessions, family disputes, even in history books. Memory is malleable. It can be rewritten, accidentally or by others. And the more often we recall an event, the more likely we are to distort it. Not because we're dishonest, but because we're human. Why we trust our memory anyway. Despite everything science tells us, despite knowing that memory can be flawed, we still trust it. Why? Because memory gives us something we crave more than truth: stability. To doubt your memory is to doubt your story. And to doubt your story is to question who you are. That's terrifying. So instead, we cling to the sensation of certainty. The feeling that I know what happened, that I remember it clearly, even if the details are off, even if new evidence suggests otherwise. This is called memory confidence, and it's often mistaken for memory accuracy. But studies show the two aren't always connected. You can feel very sure about a memory and still be completely wrong. The mind values coherence. It wants a clean narrative, a through line. So it will ignore contradictions, dismiss gaps, and even invent filler just to keep the illusion of I know. Add to that the power of confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out and remember only what supports what we already believe. And suddenly, your memory isn't just fallible, it's biased. You remember the time your friend didn't answer your call, but forget the 10 times they did. You remember your failure vividly, but barely recall your quiet success. The brain curates your memories not based on fairness, but based on what supports the identity you've unconsciously chosen. That's why we trust our memories, not because they're perfect, but because they help us feel consistent. They protect our sense of self, even when that self is built on shaky ground. It's not a flaw, it's a survival instinct. And once you realize that, you can start to ask a powerful question. Is the version of my past that I've held on to really the one I want to keep building from? How memory shapes identity. We don't just remember to remember. We remember to define ourselves. Every memory you hold becomes a thread in the story of who you are. The time you won the award, the time you were humiliated in front of your classmates, the way your parents looked at you when you failed, or when you made them proud. These aren't just events, they're evidence. Your brain collects them to build a narrative. I'm strong. I'm never good enough. I always mess things up. And like a lawyer crafting a case, your mind uses those memories to justify your beliefs about yourself, even when the evidence is incomplete or entirely false. That's how identity is formed. Not just from facts, but from how we interpret the facts. So what happens when your memory is distorted? When the scenes you're replaying aren't exactly what happened, but rather what your fear, trauma, or longing made them into? You might believe you were always the outsider, that you were unlovable, that no one really showed up for you. And maybe parts of that are true, but maybe some of it is just what your mind repeated until it became the only version you remembered. This isn't to invalidate your experience. Your pain is real, but so is the possibility that your brain has filled in certain blanks with assumptions, crafted by wounds, not facts. And when your identity is built on wounded memory, you carry those wounds into everything. Your relationships, your risks, your dreams, your limits. So here's the question. What if you could revisit your story and re-narrate it with compassion? Not by pretending the pain didn't happen, but by reframing what it meant, by updating your story, not to erase the past, but to reclaim who you are becoming. Because you're not just the sum of what happened to you. You are the meaning you make from it. Can we train the mind to remember better? If memory is flawed, does that mean we're doomed to misremember forever? Not quite. The goal isn't to have perfect memory. That's impossible. The goal is to build a healthy relationship with memory, one rooted in awareness, compassion, and curiosity. Because while we can't fully control how our brain stores information, we can influence how we engage with our memories, both old and new. Start with intentional reflection. Instead of trusting your recollection at face value, ask, what might I be missing? How was I feeling in that moment? What else could be true? By acknowledging that your memory is emotional, not objective, you make space for other perspectives, and you open the door to greater emotional accuracy. You can also practice dual-layered journaling. When writing about a memory, include not just what happened, but how you felt, what you believed, and what you assumed. This helps separate facts from feelings. Over time, it trains the brain to notice its own storytelling habits. Another tool? Perspective checking. Talk to others who were there. Not to challenge your experience, but to expand it. Their memory may differ, and that difference doesn't mean you're wrong. It just reminds you that reality is multidimensional. Most importantly, practice memory humility. Accept that your mind edits and filters, that forgetting doesn't make you flawed, that misremembering doesn't make you a liar. It makes you human. And that being human means sometimes looking back and realizing you've been holding on to a story that no longer serves who you want to become. That's the moment where healing begins. Because memory is not just a mirror of the past, it's a tool for shaping the future. And when you treat it with care, with kindness, and with curiosity, it stops being something to fear and starts becoming something you can grow. If your memories aren't perfect, does that mean you're lost? That you can't trust yourself? No, it means you're human. Your memories may be flawed, but so is every canvas ever painted, every story ever told, every heart that has ever healed. You see, memory isn't about precision, it's about meaning, and meaning can change. That's not weakness. That's growth. So maybe it's okay to let go of the idea that your past must be exact, that every detail must align, that your identity depends on accuracy. Because the truth is, you are not just your memories. You are the choices you make in the present, the compassion you give yourself when the past feels blurry, the strength you build when you rewrite the story you were once handed. So the next time you question what really happened, don't panic. Pause and ask, what can I learn from this memory, whether or not it's perfect? Because healing doesn't mean having all the right memories. It means having the courage to hold them gently, to learn from them, and to grow beyond them. You are not your memory. You are the meaning you give to your life starting now.